There's very mixed opinions when it comes to the ocean, where others might not know how to swim, but they like to go fishing. The sound of water can be very serene. As a matter of fact, that's probably one of the most relaxing things someone can do, is listen to the sea or the ocean waves. Although it does have its dangers, especially if you're going to go boating out in the open sea. Even with those issues, I found some experiences of people who have been on the open sea and experienced some very terrifying things and survived to tell about it. I'm training on a big ship right now, and on a training vessel, I have to stand night watches. Down in the ship, steering gear at 2 to 4 a.m., it's not fun when you're in an isolated room. Sometimes it sounds like a girl is talking down the hall, but you know no one's there, because there's only one entrance. It is the scariest thing. I was 3 to 4 days out on a rowboat. It was about 3 a.m., very little cloud cover, and only a bit of moon. I'm in my own head, thinking about food, and on the deck alone rowing, when I realized something was watching me off the port side. So I turned my head to the right. I'm rowing backwards. And whatever was watching me ducks his head under the water. Yes, underwater. And yes, it's a head. Whatever it was had been watching me, maybe for a minute or so. Only caught a glimpse of it. And what it was, I have absolutely no idea. It looked like a human-sized head, black, pupilless eyes. I looked everywhere to figure out what it was, and the closest I got to it was a goblin shark, but he had a human-sized and shaped head. I was manning the .50 caliber on my first cruise in the Persian Gulf. I stood one 4-hour shift, watching every day. It was pretty monotonous. I have seen plenty of Gulf wildlife, bright purple jellyfish, sea snakes, and etc. But one day I saw a bloated cow carcass just floating in the water. We were hundreds of miles from the shore, so it probably just didn't float out there, but the possibility did exist. Until I saw the second one, then the third, then the fourth, and then a fifth. These were in about 1,000 feet intervals. They were bloated cow carcasses forming a perfectly straight line, and it followed for a pretty good while because we were going in the same direction. There had to have been 2 to 3 dozen of them. There was some goats and dogs in there too. My family and I were sailing out in Croatia in a rental boat. There had been plenty of bad weather, but we were fortunate to avoid the storms. However, one fateful day, when we were casually cruising along the coast, a cabin door with a small orange life vest resting on top of it floated by. We were shocked. We stuck around the scene for about 30 minutes, listening for sounds and checking things out that we can fish up. After concluding that, it looked like it had been in the water for a long time. We determined at least a month or two. And after trying to call over our radio, which turned out not to work, thanks rental boats, we decided to keep moving. But we couldn't quite shake it off. This feeling of dread, that little orange life vest, it still haunts me. I'm not entirely sure what else we could have done, since we have no way of communicating with land, and we were hours away from the nearest port. We have no idea what it was, what happened, or anything else. We were sailing with my friend in a small boat or yacht. It was like 10 meters long. It was night fishing, as he called it. Apparently some fish can be caught better at night. So obviously, we just let the fishing equipment do its job. By about 3 a.m., we were sleeping on the deck. I needed to pee. So I got closer to the edge. The sea was beautiful. The water was calm. Small waves were making calm water splashes on the side of the boat. Suddenly I see a huge wave is coming straight at us. I stare at it for a couple of seconds. Because I've been drinking, this might have been playing tricks on me. Nope. It was a huge wave, maybe about 15 to 20 meters tall. Our boat was tiny in comparison. It was very wide. There was no chance I could navigate the boat around it. I realized that Nothing could be done but to brace ourselves. I screamed at my friend to wake him up and told him to hang on to something, although that wouldn't have helped. That wave was so much taller than our boat. My friend showed no signs of waking up, so I shook him violently because he was the one who could drive the boat. He just stayed asleep. He just laid there like a brick. All this happened within 10 to 15 seconds, although it felt like hours to me. The huge wave was approaching rapidly. It was probably around 10 boat lengths from us, so I braced myself and I pushed my friend down the stairs. That way he wouldn't be thrown off during the impact. Probably about 5 seconds later, nothing happened. Around 30 meters away, the wave just sort of collapsed. It looked like it just descended back down into the sea, not even crashing. It was flat sea and nothing else. I was terrified. I'm still not sure what happened. When I told my friend when he woke up, he didn't believe me. He slept like a baby that night. I was just sitting there all night with my eyes wide open, swearing not to be into the sea anymore, because I felt like Poseidon was being angry at me. This is a comment from the last time this was asked, but I found it very interesting. One night a guy who was rowing down the Pacific said that these big eels, like forearm thick, with glowing eyes, started swimming around the boat, then suddenly stuck their necks out directly up, with their heads turned toward him, like a submarine periscope, and all just watched him. He said he could never figure out if it was real or just a hallucination from tiredness. We were sailing in an open ocean race. My friend and I were watching during a light storm. Suddenly a rogue wave hit, and the whole boat was gone. All we could see is an eerie green glow from the lights of the cockpit and the navigation station, but they were beneath us for about like 4 feet. We hit the end of our lifelines. The life jackets inflated, and those few seconds felt like an eternity ticked by, with us getting pulled under. Then the boat suddenly burst out of the water. Several more seconds go by. It seems like frantic minutes or hours. As the boat drains, I'm climbing over the lifeline, and I look to my friend who is now on the other side of the boat. We were sitting right beside each other, now tangled in the aft corner of our lifelines. We get everything under control, when the watch below realizes that there's a few thousand gallons of water just sloshing around with them. Someone opened the hatch to get some air, and the inside of the boat was flooded when we went under. After a lot of screaming and yelling, and inside the boat, the bilges drained the boat pretty quick. Everything was drenched. Food, equipment, and the people. My mate and I were sitting down, and with our still inflated life jackets on, we started laughing hysterically, and we gave each other a big hug. I've been inside burning houses, worked horrible car accidents, jumped out of planes and climbed mountains. That experience was the most adrenaline-fueled, fearful moments of my life. When I looked down and saw the giant 44-foot boat swallowed by the abyss, a sinking boat glowing under me, knowing that I was tied to it, I thought, this is it. This is how I die. I had just reported aboard my first ship. We were in port in Brooklyn, New York. I was over the side, on a camel. It's a long wooden raft that kept the ship away from the pier. I was scrubbing the side of the bow with a push brush. This was in December, on the East River. The river was moving swiftly and rough. It was a cold, dreary, and crappy day. Anyway, I'm just scrubbing away and I'm looking around when I see an arm raising up from the river. Just as I start to call out about this and point, it sinks out of sight. Everyone thinks I'm nuts now, and they start to rag on me. I can still see this in my mind, and it's been almost 40 years ago. We were doing an overnight fishing trip out on George Banks in the middle of summer. It was around 3 a.m. It was completely dark with no cloud cover or anything. The stars were amazing. I go into the cabin to grab a beer. As I turned to look at the stern of the boat, It was as bright as noon, with no clouds on the back deck and surrounding area of the boat. It's like someone put Hollywood spotlights on us. I blinked a few times, and I ran towards the back. But as soon as I came out from under the cabin's overhang, it was darker than before I went outside. Like when emerging from a bright room into a dark one, your eyes haven't adjusted yet. Anyway, I woke everyone up and I tried to explain this. They told me that I probably fell asleep and was dreaming. To this day, what happened, I'll never know for sure. Fog at sea at night really messes with your senses. Everything is quiet, and you can't see anything but the boat immediately around you. You keep looking for lights of other ships and listening for foghorns and the sounds of engines in the distance, and your brain starts playing all manners of tricks on you. We were in a busy shipping lane. It was serious business, and in a very real way, it can mean life or death. If you miss a ship and it hits you and you sink, you start to see lights everywhere. You start hearing things, like engines creeping up on you. You stop your boat and cut your engines to see and hear anything, to see if it's real or not. And you enter an even stranger world of sensory deprivation. It's eerie as hell. Maybe not supernatural or anything, but it was pretty weird. I've never seen anything like it before, or since. We were sailing off the coast of Florida in a submarine, and we were at periscope depth. We see a small fishing boat go by. The fishing boat slows down, and on an emergency frequency channel, we hear a very southern twang. Is that a submarine? That must be a dang submarine! The man immediately strips completely naked, then displays his rear for all of us to see on the periscope. He slaps his butt a few times, then carries on with his day. Thank you all for joining me for this version of The Creepier. I hope this doesn't turn you off from going boating. It can be some of the most enjoyable things you can ever do, honestly. So what do you think? You gonna go boating sometimes out in the open sea? I doubt these things would happen to you. Very low probability. Unless you're stupid, then the probability might be pretty high. Thank you all for listening, and until next time, this is Dallas, signing off. I'm doing my recording.
Well, your door's standing wide open.
Oh, can you shut it for me?
Yeah. I also brought your tablet in here.
Oh, thank you.
Because I figured you'd need it.
Aw, you sweetheart. Guys, your hands are cold.
You also need to put a thing on the door that says, "Hi, I'm
Oh,
recording."
Jesus Christ!
I'm recording.
Your hands.
Yes, I know. You want me to stick them someplace else?
No.
You should totally put that in at the end.